Game on.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. Well, today I want to show you how to install the new Glen's Retro Show Trackball into your Arcade1UP. Let's have a look first to see what's in the box, and then how we can install it in a standard Arcade1UP and then in the 12-in-1 Arcade1UP. Let's have a look. Okay, so here is the Glen's Retro Show Trackball. This is designed to go directly into your Arcade1UP Centipede or your 12-in-1 unit. If you do have a PC, Pi, or Mac, you just need to get the 12-in-1 board, which will convert this into a standard USB signal. So let's take a look and see what you get inside the box. Okay, the first thing we're going to get, obviously, is our little owner's manual here. We'll look at this in a second. And you get a little welcome card from me for purchasing the unit, and I do appreciate you guys purchasing these. As you purchase these, it gives us funds to create new things like the Star Wars yoke and the Tron joystick that'll be coming out soon. Here is the actual trackball itself. It is an injected molded plastic, very high quality. It is a frosted white because on the underneath here we have 7 different colors you can assign to the ball. You could have no color at all, it could be off just like this, but you can make it red, green, blue, so forth on here. The ball is using industrial arcade quality bearings. You can see how well that spins. It's got the standard interface here for the Arcade1UP. And also in the box is just, if you need some mounting screws, you can use the screws that came with your Arcade1UP, but if you happen to lose them, there are more here. And there's also a small jumper. By default, this guy is going to be set up to plug directly into the Arcade1UP. Okay, here is the owner's manual. The directions are fairly straightforward and simple. Obviously, you do have to remove the trackball from your current unit. Now, Arcade1UP, in addition to screws, did put in glue to keep the trackballs in place. Some people suggest using a hairdryer or heat gun to get it out, and that might be more trouble than it's worth. You might do damage to the artwork. To be quite honest, the screwdriver and some gentle prying will pull it right out just fine, and I'll show you how I do that in my 12-in-1. But that is something you're going to have to do before you can put the new unit back in place. Now, also in here, we added an option here. So if you have my spinner as well, the Glen's Retro Show spinner, and you're using it in an Arcade1UP unit, you won't need the 12-in board anymore to connect the spinner and the trackball. We created an interface right inside here. Of course, if you have the 12-in-1 board, it'll still work, obviously. But if you didn't have it and not using a PC, Pi, or a Mac, you just need the new spinner and the new trackball here, and they'll work together just fine. And here are the dip switches, which basically correspond to these colors over here. So you have no LED, it'll just be the frosted white, red, blue, green, magenta, cyan, yellow, or white. So there's the different colors you can select there. Okay, so if you're going to be using this in anything but an Arcade1UP, you will have to remove this one jumper inside the unit. It's fairly easy, it's not a big deal. But if you're using it in an Arcade1UP, you don't have to worry about that step at all. And that's really it. It's just basically at that point putting it back in place. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take first my centipede here. You can see I already have one unit in the machine already, but I'll still show you the steps. I have that lit up as green to go with the centipede. But let's go through the steps of how to basically install this, and then we'll do it also in my 12-in-1 over here, which still has the current stock trackball in the machine. Okay, obviously you want to make sure your machine is off when you do any kind of work on your machines. Okay, you have to also then remove the 4 screws, and then we can take this thing out, and we're going to flip it over just for a second here, just so you guys can see what we have here. And basically all we had to do was connect this one cable, pull out the old trackball and put it in this one location right here, and install the 4 screws. And then since I have this out now, I'm going to put the back cover on place, but I'll show you the entire process here on the 12-in-1 since I have to put the trackball on that one. But you can see it's really just this one cable, and that's it. You're going to unplug the other one, plug this one back in, and put your cover on. So I'm going to close this guy back up and we'll do the entire installation process of my 12-in-1 unit in just a moment. So as you can see, the centipede one is fairly easy. It's really just taking all 4 screws, taking the one cable off the back, turning it upside down, taking out the 6 screws to take off the plastic cover, remove the trackball, remove the cable, put the cable back on with the new trackball, and reassemble. It's not too difficult. The 12-in-1 is a little more complicated only because we have the spinner. And the spinner I have right here is courtesy of Adam over at DNA Dimension Designs. If you have the spinner tops, you can send them to him and he can have them engraved with logos on it and have a nice Atari logo on there. So this one here is still using the original trackball from Arcade1UP, where this one is now, you can hear that, spins a lot better on the bearings. So this one, to be honest, the trackball I had in my centipede over there, where did I put you? Over here. So this is what I took out. I honestly really had no problem with it. I mean, it worked. It just didn't spin very well. But it did the job. I mean, I can't complain saying that thing didn't work. Mine did, and so did this one here. But the ball bearing ones on mine just makes it a little bit better game experience. And also, it's a lot more sensitive for finer and quicker movements than you would have gotten out of these. And you can see here, this is where all the glue was. So I had to pry this guy out. You think you're going to break it. You have to be careful because you don't want to really damage the board in getting this out. But unfortunately, that's the only way to get these suckers out. So in any case, the 12-in-1 here, we're going to take a stab at right now. And again, if you have, which I have over here, if you have my my spinner here, these can now interface directly into the trackball that I have now. Before you did need, in the 12-in-1, an interface board, which I also happen to have right over here. And this guy, if you're not using my trackball and using the Arcade1UP trackball, you still would need this with my spinner. Or if you're going to use it in a project other than the Arcade1UP, like a PC, Pi, or Mac. But in any case, we are going to be putting in my trackball, so we can put my spinner directly into the unit. And we're going to go through all that now. So again, all the steps going on here are pretty much going to be identical for the centipede. The only real difference is that you don't have to have a spinner go inside the trackball. Otherwise, what you're going to see right here still pertains to here. So I didn't want to do a video on both because it's really just covering the same stuff. In any case, so the first thing we want to make sure, once again, is make sure our machine is turned off. And the next thing we need to do is remove these screws. I've already gotten them mostly undone. It's got to turn them by hand at this point. My overlay here. And you can see the overlay goes right over my spinner top. You don't have to take the top off or anything. So we have our acrylic overlay. We got to take that off first. And then underneath we have our paper overlay. I'll try to get it. There we go. I'm going to take that off as well. So the next thing we need to do is actually get the control panel off here. And remember, there is an interface cable underneath. So when you take this off, you have to be a little careful. And you got to take this cable off first. Okay. And you can see I have stuff dangling here, which is my interface board that's in here. But let's put this down so we can take a look and see how we're going to modify this little guy. We want this to be Glen Retro Show styled completely with the spinner and trackball. Okay, so when you turn your device over, your control panel, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws you need to remove. So we're going to take these and just put them somewhere safe, right there on the rug. And then this will simply lift right off. Now again, I've already put in my Glen's Retro Show spinner in here, and you can see right now it has to go over to this interface board to interface with the trackball from Arcade1UP. So this is not going to be needed anymore. We're going to put it aside just for now, just to get it out of the way. And the next thing you need to do, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws you got to take out of here. Once you get those screws out, it's still not going to come out because Arcade1UP has glued this in place. Okay, so the only way to really get this out now is through a brute force method, but gently. So I got a couple of flathead screwdrivers here, and basically we need to get in here and just pry it just well enough to where we can get our hand under it a little bit and kind of pry it out. Again, you want to be careful because you don't want to pull it so hard that it does any damage on this side. I don't know of anyone who's had that problem because there have been trackballs that have not worked and they've had to be replaced by end users, and all have had to go through this step. So this is not something that I know you have to do just for my trackball. If your trackball has a problem and you need a warranty repair, you're gonna have to go through these same steps to get this out. And to be honest, I don't really know why they put the glue in. The 4 screws held it in really well. Just like I only use 2 screws here for my spinner. I use the same screw holes that came in with the original spinner in here. But in any case, that's what we need to do. So the best thing to do is kind of look around and find a spot where you think you can get a screwdriver in on here. I'm not sure how well the angle is going to be on the camera, but basically we need to try and work our way somewhere under here. And I'm looking right here. There's like a little spot right here. You're definitely not going to see it on camera, but you just have to look around and kind of find a spot where you think you can get a screwdriver tip down into it, and you just have to kind of work it in like so, and just like that. Look at that. Okay, I'll turn this back over. That really wasn't too bad. My centipede one, oh my god, it was really hard to get out. This one, there we go. Come on, baby. Come on. Kind of stuck a little bit more on this side, but not too bad. We'll get it. You just want to really take as much care. You don't really want to damage anything if you can avoid it. Come on. There we go. Look at that. Huh, see, there's only a little bit of glue on this one. Let's take a look at the one I had on my centipede. Where did I put that little guy? Hold it over here. So you can see they used a lot more glue on the centipede one than they had used on this one. They really had some glue on the corners here, so it came out fairly easy. So I'm really happy about that. So now what we need to do is we need to actually just undo some of these wires here. With this is some tape, I believe, on here, and so we can get the trackball out of here. We can probably even reuse this tape if we're careful. So I'm gonna put the tape over here. It was Glen's retro show. It was kind of cheap, I'm not gonna lie. So you can see right here, the spinner was here. I actually took the spinner off completely because it wasn't really used. And this trackball is now going into my interface board, so we're gonna just undo that. So the spinner here, or the trackball, is completely out of the way, and you can see the original spinner did go into the trackball, but I always tried to make mine completely solderless, so that wasn't going to work for us. That's why we created the interface board to begin with. So we have 2 trackballs, and again, I'm just going to be completely honest here. These both worked fine. I had no issues with them. I know a lot of people did, but these guys worked fine for me, so I'm not going to, badmouth their trackballs because my experience with them have been fine. But I do want to replace it with my new one because it is a little bit better, in my opinion. And then we have our my spinner here. I'm just going to unplug that temporarily, and I'm going to unplug my interface board because right now I don't need this interface board with the new trackball. So I'm going to put that also aside. So the next thing we are going to need is a new trackball. So what I'm going to do is open up this guy right here. Now I'm not sure what color I want to use yet. I mean, this guy plays all kinds of games. Now this one I have green on my centipede. I have to think about that. I'm not sure what color I want for this guy yet. So let's double check our color scheme. On my Tron unit I have blue. On my centipede I have green. Maybe I'll go with a missile command. I could do a yellow or a red. I think I'm going to just see how the yellow looks. So that's going to be on, off, on. So when I go to the bottom of the trackball, on my little dips here, on, so put these 2 up, on, off, on. So I now set this on, off, on, so this now should be a yellow color. Now again, I'm going to be plugging my spinner directly into the trackball. To do that, we need to actually open this guy up. And again, it's not hard to do. You are going to need a flathead screwdriver, and you have to pry onto these little tabs here to get inside the unit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just get it in there and pry it up. Come on, little devil. Here we go. And do the same thing to this one. Probably should use the fathead. See, it comes right apart. So you got to be careful because you got to do the same thing to the other side. You just got to find a spot where you can get the screwdriver under. Sometimes you start in the middle. There we go. Work our way over. And we should be able to get that pop right off. There we go. And then the last one over here. This is not something you have to do too much. So once they're all popped off, so I can see this a little bit better myself, top comes right off, and you can see that's a good ABS plastic. We have our ball right here. I'm going to put that aside. And you can see we have nice ball bearings in there. Let's get one more good spin. Good spin. And a little ball bearing here as well. So we have our LEDs down here. Now right now, if you can see up here, there's a jumper on the unit. That jumper is telling this you're going in Arcade1UP, you have an 8 millisecond delay. If you're using this, a PC Pi or Mac with my interface board, you're going to have to pull that jumper off, and that'll tell it you're now in 5 millisecond mode, which is what you want to use for a PC Pi or Mac. Now, to make this a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull my cable off of here for now, and I'm going to take the original end here and put it here. Sometimes you need a screwdriver to get it in, because my hand's not that small. There we go. So now that I have that in, I'm just going to take the wires and come out the same location. Now this one here is going to go to the Arcade1UP, and this one's going to go into my spinner. I have it marked spinner, so I'm not going to make a mistake on it. But make sure you keep an eye and make sure you know which one's going where. And you can see, just make sure all the wires are going down into this little cutout here, so nothing gets pinched. Then I'm going to take my trackball, put that back in here. Nice. And then when you put this on, you see there's two, and then a skinny one. The skinny one has to go here, so make sure you're putting that on the right way. So it's going to go on like this. And just make sure you clip these guys down and make sure none of the wires are getting pinched. That's the only hard part. Just make sure your wires get in there without getting pinched. Push them down real good. There we go. They should be fine there. And then put our top on. It's just basically just pressing down until it locks in place. Did I get all spots? Make sure I got everyone right there. There we go. So we have all the wires coming out here. We have our trackball working really good there with the bearings. And now we can simply take it and put it down into the spot. And of course, make sure you're putting it the right way. The wires are your top, okay? So these are going to be going to your top, which is going towards your control board right here. So we're going to just pull these things over to the side, move these wires out of the way. And again, we can reuse the original screws that came with the unit, or if you misplaced them, which I probably have, I've had these out for a little bit, we're going to use these and put it back in place. Okay, so all we need to do at this point is to screw the trackball back in place. So just make sure you get it down to the right spot. And what I usually do is I go in just a little bit. I don't go in the full way right away until I make sure all 4 screws have a bite, and then I'll tie them in just in case the screw holes are a little bit off center. It'll draw it together versus kind of being locked in a bad spot. So just get them started about halfway maybe. This is probably the hardest part, just trying to get it in the holes. Good thing I have a magnetic tip Phillips, which is probably a good help. Okay, we'll start with this one first. Okay, so I have 3 in, and once I get the last one in, then you can start tightening them down. And again, you don't have to make it super tight. I mean, the wood here is probably not going to let you do that anyway. It's just a good finger tight. Good. So I have all 4 in, and I just lift it up a little bit so the trackball is not, you know, moved or off the ground in any way. And just tighten it down. It's just a good finger tightness. There's 1. And again, I know there was glue on here originally. I really don't see a need to put the glue on again. because I think these screws will hold it on just fine. Okay, you can feel it. You can lift this whole thing up by the trackball and know that you are good. And you can see the new trackball is in place. My spinner top here from Adam Henry is here as well. So all we need to do now is just put this back in the machine and try it out. Now I'm not going to put the bottom cover on just yet because I want to see what color I want first. I'm trying yellow, but I might try a different color. So let's just put this back into the machine and see how it works. Okay, the one thing I forgot to do before I'm going to put this thing back in is connect the wires. So you can see, again, this is the 12 one. Now, if you're using the regular centipede, all you need to do is take this one wire and put it into here. And that's it. But since you have the 12-in-1 and we're coming out of here, we're also going to add this to our spinner, just like so. And that's it. So you won't need the 12-in-1 interface board in this situation, but if you're using it in, again, a Pi, PC, or Mac, you would. But it's really spinner into trackball, trackball into interface board. And normally at this point you put the cover on, but again, I just want to see what the colors are like and pick the right one for my machine. So let's put this back in the machine and try it out. Okay, so basically we just got to reverse our steps, which is bring this back to the machine, grab our interface cable, and plug it back in, and we can do a test and see what color we like. Okay, let's turn this little guy on and see how it turns on. Let's check it out. Okay, so I have the control panel back in place, and I thought I was recording before, and I was not. So I've gone through a whole gambit of colors. I'll show them again. But let's turn this guy back on. Now again, I removed my 12-in-1 board. We have my spinner going into the trackball, and you can see my spinner does work and the trackball works. Both are currently working just fine right now. As you can see right now, I have it set to red to match kind of the other buttons that are on here. But I did go through all the colors before, but of course you didn't see that because I wasn't recording when I thought I was. So let's just go through some colors here. So there is green. There's white. There is magenta. There is purple. And is that down all the way? Maybe not. Come on, you. There we go. There's no color at all. That's turned off, even though it does still work if you don't want any colors at all. But I do want the red, so I'm going to put the red back on. And we'll try some games here, again, because you didn't see me playing before because I wasn't recording. So the first game I wanted to try was Centipede, and we'll go into that game right now. Now the Glen's Retro Show Trackball is using arcade quality ball bearings in here, and it's sensitive. So if you're used to the trackball that was in here before, you may be like, oh my god, it's too sensitive. But once you get used to it, the accuracy is so much better. But let's start it up here. Again, I am not great at these games, although I wish I was. I used to be when I was younger. I'll do the best I can to show it. As I just showed going into a spider. Oh, God. That's the way you do it. Oh my goodness! Get him! Ah! Okay, well I'm not the best at Centipede, obviously, but let me go back and try a different game here. The next one I'll try is Missile Command, because you really get to see how the trackball really is able to move around the screen. So I'll go into Missile Command right here. You see how well it moves around the screen? Fast, yet accurate. Trackball's accurate. I'm not. That's a bummer. Okay, let's try a different game. Let's try Crystal Castles. Oh, a little too fast into a tree. Ah! Darn it. They're gonna get the last gem. Gotta be sometimes not so fast. Go slow if you like to. I want that hat. I want the hat. Get down. Uh-oh. 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 Whoa. Oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. That was a close call, but I wanted that hat. They're gonna get some gems. Oh, I want the honey. Go away. Okay, let's try now Millipede. Which is basically centipede on steroids. Small startup. Boop. Oh my goodness. Oh man, I'm so not good at these. I love them, just not good at them. Well, let's try a different game here. I think we have Liberator that uses a trackball, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to that game. There we go. And it does. Fire and shield. Start the game. So you can see the trackball is tracking very accurately. Nice and smooth. Now another game people seem to like to play is Quantum. That's not a game I played much of, but let's take a look at Quantum. Let's see where Quantum is. Quantum, there we go. I guess I'm going to do this one right there. There we go. Oh! Don't turn into them. Yeah. Ooh, that's not good. Whoa! Oh my God! Ah! Oh. I'll definitely say Quantum is definitely easier to play with my trackball versus the Arcade 1UP one. It's definitely smashing these little guys. Just because it continues to spin past a lot quicker, as you can see. Whoop! Ah, but now I'm stinking. Again, this is not a game I played very much of. Oh, I smacked into it again. But not too bad. I'm not sure if there's any other trackball games on here. Let me see. Actually, I'm going to try one more time. Whoa, almost hit that guy. Let's see. Whoa. I don't know what I'm doing now. Let's try this guy. There we go. Can I do a double? I probably could have. Oh my God. Huh. Haha. Oh, you don't want to go into them. Oh, can I get two? Oh, not good enough. Nah, I'm not going to get two. Oh! You can't go into them, Glenn! Not too shabby. And that's really it. So the Glen's Retro Show Trackball is on its way to Amazon right now. It should be here before the end of the month of July by the time Amazon gets it and puts it up in stock. And that's really it, guys. We're shooting for having it for $39.95. And that's really it. So I thank you guys for watching. If you did like the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. If you have an Arcade 1UP or know someone who does, be sure to tell them about the Glen's Retro Show Trackball and the Glen's Retro Show Spinner. And I thank you all for watching. And remember, everyone, game on.
Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.